Hello. Today is Wednesday and it's 12:01. I was a minute late, but I'll talk for a minute till we get some people going on here. This is another edition of questions and answers about the It Takes a Guild cardigan tutorial. I'm wearing my sample here. Hello. Let me know when you're on. Say hi. Give me a thumbs up. Hello. So we have 4 people on. I'm sure there's going to be a few more than that. Hello, Julia from Alaska. And let's see who else is coming on. This is my my work in progress. Let me stand up a little. I'll tilt my screen. So here it is. This is looking good. I'm very happy with it. Some of you are ahead of me. I don't have my pockets started yet, but I'm ready to answer a bunch of questions about them. And we will be doing more on the pockets this week. The next episode of the directions come up on Friday. And we'll be focusing more on the pockets. Hello, Ruth. Carol, Bonnie, Susan, Tanya, Claudia, Elaine, Renee. Hello, Linda Harper. Hello, everybody. Hello, Dalise, Diana. Thank you. Oh, Diana's listening because she's at work. She can't watch, so that's good. Good to see you too, Ruth. I miss you. Ruth and I are very good friends, but she lives in Missouri and I live in Bakersfield. So we see each other once a year or so. It's always fun. So I'm going to get started. We have 54 people on here now. As I said a minute ago, this is my version. Let me tilt my screen down again. Of the cardigan. So that's looking good. I've got my 3 inches in the front here. I haven't blocked this, steamed it, or anything. So, all of this will lay nicer when it's blocked. Here is the V-neck. Now, you would think that the V-neck would come down like this, but no, we just want it to come like this. It actually makes this lower in the front for those people that are concerned about the back of the sweater, the front and the back being the same height, which gives you that choking effect. You can see the V-neck makes the front lower than the back. And when we get to the part where we're going to do the shawl collar, you'll see how we'll use this space to create the shawl collar. And then the button band's going to come down here. Here's my dart in the front. Can you see right here? So that's my front waist shaping. It's on the other side. It really doesn't interrupt much. I actually think it really looks nice. I try to place them, and when I suggest to you to put them, 1/4 of the width in from the side seam, here's my side seam marker. That's so that they don't come like right up the front of your breast. I don't think that looks very good, so it's slightly to the side of your breast, or what Lily Chin calls your bust point. You don't want things pointing to your bust point. That does not look good. The same when I did not do any bust shaping. But if you do the bust shaping, some people will tell you to do it coming all the way out almost to your bust point. I don't think that looks good. Oops, there's Lulu walking by. I keep them over in this area here, and so you can do one line of short rows for each inch that you want to create an extra bust fabric. So you would do a line and then a line right under it if you need to add a 2nd inch, so that they don't come all the way out and point to your breast. That doesn't look good. So let's see here if there's any questions already. Move my monitor back up. Tanya's on here live. Great, you caught it live this time. Rainy Pacific Northwest. You guys need to send some rain down here to California. We are having a very, very, very bad time here. Not in Bakersfield, thank goodness, but our air quality is definitely affected. Last night, the moon had a ring around it, not from foreboding of rain, but from smoke. It was really bad. Hi from Hungary, Caitlin, Sylvia. I love your colors. I'm not so sure I love mine. You know, you won't know till you get it done. Um, Yay, Wendy, you finally made a live one. Great. Oh, you can't hit the like button till the show's over, huh? How that's sad. But if you can hit the thumbs up button, that's good. I like that. That tells me that you like my video. It's different than the little smiley face. I don't see the smiley faces. It's like Facebook does that. But Kate Wilson, Claudia, we're in the Bay Area, have a lot of smoke. Yes, really, really bad. Linda DuPont, Idaho loves you. My son is going to be moving to Boise, and so I'll be coming up there to visit him frequently. Okay, so this seems to be a good time for some people that haven't been able to get on. Maybe we should do this every week and have one in the middle of the week and one on the weekend so we can fit everybody in. And you can ask your questions. So I'm going to start with the questions you guys posted on Ravelry, okay? And I'm trying to organize these into some sort of thing so that when people come back and watch this video that it makes sense to them. Okay, this is from So Chic Mums Knits. She says, "Hi Suzanne, I have not started my cardigan yet, but I've been using the tutorial on a garment currently on my needles." That's fantastic. Thanks for such great videos. I find them very useful. You know, that's what this is all about, because what I'm teaching you are skills that you can use on anything that you knit. So the sweater is just a vehicle for learning the techniques. That's how I do all of my teaching. I choose projects that are vehicles for all the techniques, and I try to cram as many techniques as possible into that project. For some people, that might be frustrating, but for those of us who like to learn new things, you can pick and choose which things you want to learn out of it. So she does have a question. "I'd like to know if it's all possible to knit my Itag cardigan sleeveless, or are short sleeves the only possibility if I don't want full sleeves?" This is about as short as you can get. Now, if you were to knit this in pieces, which we aren't, we're knitting it all in one piece, you could make your sleeve any length you want. You could make a little cap sleeve here if you want. But since we're knitting this all in one piece, you really can't make the sleeve shorter than this, but you could definitely have short sleeves. It'd be super cute. That's for that one. This is Sunpack 1. So, "Hi Suzanne, when I posted my initial request about faux seam, I should have asked your opinion about faux seam." And that's a good point. Some people will do a faux seam down the side. Where's my side marker? Here's my side marker right here. So the faux seam would go right here. See where these new stitches were added on? It would go right down the center. And some people say it adds stability to your sweater. I really don't understand how that would work. I don't think, unless you, one of the things that Meg Swanson does is when she's done, she releases one line of stitches and then she goes back and she slips every other one. And that might pull the side up a little bit, but just using a purl stitch or even a little garter, knit one, purl one down the side isn't going to really change the stability of your sweater. It's more of a design element. So that's that. Let's see if I answered the whole thing. She said, "Also, if I were to create a faux seam in between front and back and I cast on 10 stitches for an underarm, I'm off by one stitch. You would just add a stitch in there for it. It's okay. It's okay to be off by one stitch. It's okay to be off by 2 or 3 stitches, but if you start getting off by 20 stitches, that is a problem." So I would have to knit 4 stitches, create the faux stitch, knit 5, or knit 5. I would just add one in there. That answers that. Okay, this is Linda, Leenda, and she says, "When picking up the lining stitches behind the cable, I'm doing cable C, total stitch count is 10. Depending on the row I'm on, I'd have either 3 or 4 knit stitches in a row. Which I would believe would cause a hole. You're just going to have to pick up in some of those and do it carefully. It's not going to create a big deal on the front. You'd have to use a magnifying glass to see it, but you'll be able to see it. Nobody else will be able to see it. So don't worry about that. Just compensate for the cable flare. So you will be reducing stitches behind your cable. Um, and you can use your cable swatch. Remember when you swatched your cables at the beginning? You can see from those matched up with stockinette stitch how many stitches you will want to remove. Okay, this is from Cat5TX, Cat Fix. I'm confused about page 40. Where do we start hip increases with respect to the pocket? You start the hip increases with respect to your body, and the pocket will be wherever you want the pocket to be. Now, in the directions, I've more or less suggested that you start the pocket at your waist shaping because that's what I've done in the past. And I like my sweaters to be a little bit, I like them the full length. They're not making them shorter. If you're making a sweater that's shorter than the actual projected length via Ann Budd's book, then you're going to need to raise your pockets up or you'll have shorter pockets. So in that case, let's say you're making a bomber style jacket that's going to be coming in more at the waist or right below the waist, you'll want your pockets up higher. So instead of having your pockets down here, right where your waist is going to start, you might want your pockets up here. And in that case, you would start them earlier. And if you were doing a bomber style jacket, you probably wouldn't be doing any waist shaping anyway. Now, if your sweater is going to be longer than Ann Budd's projected sweater, you're going to want to lower the pocket, or you will have very long pockets. But long pockets are okay, and they're very fashionable. So what you would do is the curve would be extended down longer, and then the bottom pocket, the squared pot, would sit right above your ribbing. It should end right. The next row after the pocket will be the start of your ribbing. So if you want to have the longer pocket, that's okay. They're kind of the same as kangaroo pockets, only they have depth to them. They have a part at the bottom that is sealed in. So like if you put your car keys in there or your phone, it won't fall out the side of your pocket. I hope that answers that. I think several people had questions about the length of the pocket. Okay, Suzanne, this is from Susan Marie. I hope you're on here. Hi, Susan. If you are, or if you're watching later, you can pick this up. She wants to know more about reducing the amount of ease at the hip area. So at the bust area, we really talked about having 4 inches of ease. Now, if you look at this, this has 4 inches of ease. Can you see that I can pull out an inch here? It doesn't look like it has any ease at all, does it? If you look at it, but see, it's loose in here. So this is my 3-inch shape for the front. And if I pull the side out here, I can get an inch. So that's an inch on the front, an inch on the back, and an inch front and back here. That's 4 inches of ease. When you come down to your hips, you could have 4 inches of ease if you want, but it's not necessary. All you want is the fabric to be loose enough that when you turn your body, the sweater will turn with you and not cling to your hips. If you have it the same size as your hips or slightly smaller, it will cling to your hips when you turn. If this were a pullover, that would be okay, but it's not a pullover, it's a cardigan. Also, chances are you're going to be wearing it open. Although I like to button mine up, and if I button it, I usually button it at the bottom. Some people button theirs at the top and let it hang open like this. So it's just personal choice in how you like to wear things. You can make that ease at the hips anything you want. I just suggested 1 to 1.5 inches as a starting point. Again, if you have clothes in your closet, a large t-shirt is an excellent thing to try because you can put it on, you can see how it fits, you can lay it down and measure it, and then you can pin the sides in if you want. You can add shaping to it with pins, put it back on, see how it fits, and see how much shaping you want to add. I actually make mock-ups in knit fabric, like t-shirt material. I used to do that before I made my own sweaters, and I used to teach that. People would all come over to my house, would bring our sewing machines, I'd get the t-shirt material. We would draw our schematics on life-size 1-inch graph paper, and then we would cut them out, cut out the fabric, leaving a little bit of ease, a little edge for sewing, sew it up, try it on, and see if we liked it before we actually knit the sweater. But you can do the same thing with a ready-made t-shirt that is bigger than you are. Start with one that's bigger so you can actually bring it in and you can see where you like the shaping. Nina, you missed the beginning, but you can go back and watch. I save all of these videos in my YouTube videos. So if you miss the live stream, you can always go back and watch it later. These are chock full of information that you can use for anything, not just this knit along. Abdesamed, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing your name. Hello, nice to meet you from Morocco. We need a map showing where everybody is. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay, so Kate Wilson, where do we start the hip increases? If you're going to, I consider hip increases to be one and the same as the lower waist shaping. So when you start your waist shape, start inches above your waist, and then you knit a few rows of plain. It can be an inch or just a few rows. You just don't want your decrease to be right on top of your next increase. That gives you a V effect there. So you do your decreases down, and where your waist is, you're going to give yourself a little space there of straight knitting, and then you'll start the second half of the waist shaping, which is adding increases here. You can either add them at the side, or as I say, here's my little marker, I'm adding them on this part of my body right here. So if you want to extend more for your hips, you just continue those increases out for your hips. I would, of course, measure your hips in advance and figure out how much extra fabric you need for them, how many stitches you're getting to the inch, and you'll know how many stitches you need to increase your total increase. And you want it to end, your increases need to be spread out so that they end right above the widest area of your hips. So let's say you have a 10-inch area that you need to distribute your increases, and you need to make, let's say you need to make 15 increases here, and you have 10 inches, you need to distribute those within your rows within those 10 inches so that you've evenly distributed them, or evenly as possible, so that they don't bunch up on each other, don't cause puckering or gathering, and they just go out and flare out over your hips. I hope that helps you. If you have, some people have very sharp curve on their hips. In that case, you may want to add increases here, here, here. So you would have 3 sets on each side instead of 2. You'd have a total of 6 sets of increases going around your body rather than 4. I hope that answers that. If you have questions about that in particular, like if you want to give me your numbers, do that on Ravelry. If you don't feel comfortable putting your numbers out there for everybody to see, you can send me a private message on Ravelry and I'll answer you. So Susan Marie, I hope that answers that question. This is from Demetria. If I did my waist decreases at the edges of my cables, do I need to make the hip increases there as well? I widen sideways. What does the outside edge of the front and back markers refer to? So here's my front marker. This would be the inside edge going towards the middle. This is the outside edge going to the side. So when you do make your increases for your waist shaping, you want to make them on the underarm side. Maybe I should say that, on the underarm side of your marker and on the underarm side of the back marker, so that they fall here and here, not on this side of the marker. If you put it on this side of the marker, it's going to cause your fabric to go this way, and you don't want that. What you want is your fabric to go this way, because your waist goes out like this. Hopefully your waist doesn't go out like this. Okay, so your waist goes more out in this way, so you want the increases to be on the side, on the underarm side of your markers. Okay, that's Demetria. I don't know if she's on here or not, but she'll get that. This is Trajsta, Trajsta. Hello, Suzanne. What adjustments do I need to make where the finished armhole depth will be longer than my armhole depth? Several people have asked this, so it depends on how you are measuring your armhole depth. If you're measuring it the way we showed when we did our measurements, it's directly under your arm, drawing a line here and measuring from this part, not here, measuring from here down to that line, because this is where your top of your sweater is, not here. You can see there's a difference. This is higher. This is also wider here. So if we look at our shoulder here, it's narrow here and widens as it goes into your body. So for this particular sweater, not all sweaters, this is not an all sweaters answer. For the raglan, for measuring raglan armhole depth, you start here at the top in the middle of my cable right there. And we had to tie a string, remember, that came right under our underarm, so it came over to here. So the distance would be from here to here. If I get a ruler on me, that would be from here to here, and that is 9 inches. Now my armhole depth is not 9 inches. My armhole depth is about 7.5 if I measure from here. But measuring this way, it's 9 inches. Let's see what Ann Budd has in her book. Whoop, it's not in here. Maybe somebody can look on that page and see. Well, we'll deal with that one later. I'll get more information, but it depends. This question is about comparing the armhole depth in the book versus your armhole depth. And it's super important that you're measuring from the same place that she's measuring for the armhole depth. These are my doggies. Did you see them? This is Lulu. Come here, Lulu. Come here. Come meet everybody. Come here. Come here, Oscar. This is Lulu. Whoops. Scared her. This is Lulu. She's so cute. She's my knitting buddy. Here's Oscar. Come here, Oscar. Come here. Whoa. This is Oscar. He's also my knitting buddy. They're my buds. They've been knitting with me all morning. Okay, let's go back to questions. Sorry for that. This is, I cut your name off, I'm sorry. It says similar question as Trigista in post 192, except I'm making this sweaty for a 6-year-old. Her armhole measures 6 inch in size. The size I'm following gives a 7-inch armhole. I know I could adjust it, but I'm wondering if that extra inch might be okay. I think it's okay, especially for children, because they do grow so fast. So, and I wouldn't be picky about that. So this is Michelle Q. If doing the waist shaping as front and back darts method 2, the decreases will not be a problem. But how will the increases be incorporated into the pockets? I think I understand the lining part, but will the shaping increases on the public side of the pocket interfere with the pocket cable? I can't picture how this will work. Do you have an example of this type of waist shaping in this sweater or something similar with pockets in the same area? Yes, I have my sweater here. And so here you can see the waist shaping that came down here. See there, right there? That's my upper waist shaping. Those are the decreases. Then this is where I picked up the pocket. And then guess what? Those increases for the lower waist shaping are right here. Can you see them? They're inside, they're right there. They're in that line. They're inside the pocket. They never ever show on the front, because by the time they're done, by the time the pocket's done, you're also long finished with those increases, and there's nothing to see on the front. Now, if you're doing method 1, that's over in the side under the arm, then yes, you would be able to see them down here. I really prefer method 2. I hope some of you tried that. Here's my back. I just think it looks stunning. Here's the decreases. Can you see them coming down? Right there. And then here's the increases. Let's find them. They're right here. Here's the increases right here. So remember when I said on the outside edge of the marker, so my marker was right here. And every time I made an increase, the fabric moves this way 1 stitch. Do you see that? So it's just like when you're sewing and you make a dart. It's the exact same effect. Isn't that gorgeous? I love that. I think it just looks so awesome. It is not ugly. It's not something to avoid. I think it looks very stylish. Okay, Moving on, I have to stop this right at 1 o'clock because I have a lunch engagement. I have a friend that I've been friends with since our mothers were pregnant with us. We lived across the street and we have lunch every week on Wednesday. So today's lunch day. This is Kai Lady. In the tech thread, you said we should start and end each wrong side row of the pocket lining with a knit one. Can you please explain why? Does this make it easier to attach the front pocket later? Yes. So on here, when we knit the back of the pocket, the inside of the pocket lining. Okay, so here we have the pocket lining going under here, and then we come back and we knit down here, including the pocket goes all the way over here under the cable, see? It doesn't stop here. It looks like it does just because that's part of the cable design. Goes all the way over to here. So when we come back here and we start knitting down on this side, we have purl bumps going along here, and we attach the pocket lining to the pocket front via the purl bumps. Can you see those purl bumps? There's one, two. They're hard to see in this dark yarn. There you can see them. See them? And that's how you attach the front and the back. And then when you come back, and it's on the very last stitch. So when you come back, then this just inside of it is where we picked up to create the fabric for the button band. Okay, next one. This is from Demetria. Suzanne, I want my sweater longer, like 31 inches rather than 24. That's going to be gorgeous. I can't wait to see it. That's another 7 inches, and it would make a really deep pocket if it went all the way to the ribbing. I want a deeper pocket, but I don't think I want it twice as deep. Yes, you can stop the pocket before the ribbing. Yes. And what you could do, so do you see what I did here? I have my front ribbing coming all the way down, and I run it into, the cable. I have my front cable coming down, and we're going to actually run our cable into the ribbing. I made the legs just come out and match into the ribbing. One thing I cannot stand, I have a big pet peeve, oh my God, is if the ribbing does not match your cable. See how I make the legs of the ribbing come up and go right into the cable, or actually it went down this way. We're going to actually extend our cable a little bit more into the ribbing because I think that just looks stunning. So for Demetria, what you would have is you would have the bottom of your cable up here, of your pocket up here, but you could still run these cables all the way down. It would be very beautiful, but your pocket would end, it would be up here. It would look fine. It would look absolutely stunning. I can't wait to see it. Catalan wants to know the weight of the yarn I'm using. This weight here is sport weight. It's not worsted weight. Where I live in Bakersfield, California, it freezes like one night a year. That's how cold it gets. It's not very cold. So if I knit all my sweaters in worsted weight yarn, I never get to wear them unless I go out of town somewhere where it's cold, like go into the snow. So this is sport weight. This is fingering weight. And I love the sweaters like this. I love them. I wear them all the time. They're super comfortable. But you can make yours any weight you want, from fingering all the way up to bulky. That's why I made this like that, because I know people live all over the world. They have all different types of climates. Here's, so that's all. Dimitri said, also, I want a zipper. Do I need to check on zippered standard links before I continue? You can order zippers to any length you want. There are online places where you can tell them how long you want them, and then you can order them to your length. That's what I do for my sweaters. I'd rather make the zipper fit my sweater than my sweater fit the zipper. Okay, another thing about finer yarns that's a huge advantage. When you buy a skein of worsted weight yarn, it has about 200 yards, right? And for me, a worsted weight sweater, I need if it has cables and stuff in it, I need like 12 to 1400 yards. So that's 6 to 7 skeins of worsted weight yarn for a sweater. If I make it out of fingering weight, each skein has about 400 yards in it or more. And for example, for this sweater, I only had to buy 5 skeins of yarn. and I'll probably have some left over, and I made lots of swatches. So it's actually less expensive if money is a consideration for you. But this is another pet peeve, and this is just my personal, it's my thoughts. Don't take it as a rule or anything, but if you're going to spend all these hours knitting a sweater, buy the nicest yarn you can afford, because you'll be glad you did. If you buy the least expensive yarn just because you don't want to invest in it, and you knit a gorgeous sweater, you're going to kick yourself. You're going to say, I should have used nicer yarn. So go for what you can. If you can't find the yarn you want at prices you can get, there's lots of discount places online. There are a lot of people on Ravelry willing to sell yarn from their stash that you can pick up at really good prices, including me. I sell my yarn from my stash at really good prices. Okay, this is from Hey Carrie Ann. I love that. Planning ahead, I want the outer intarsia cable legs to return to the outside before I incorporate them into the ribbing at the hem. The outer legs return to the outside after 2 full chart repeats. At my gauge, 2 full chart repeats is exactly 4 inches. After looking at photos of the finished project, once the legs are in this orientation, I want to knit them a few rows without crossing before incorporating them into the ribbing, another inch. Hem will be 2 inches. The cable pattern blends into the ribbing nicely if I make the cardigan 23 inches. This is also the suggested length for my size in the book schematic. My past non-superwash wool sweaters have often grown an inch in length, bringing the sweater length to 24 inches, which is my target length. If I begin the pockets at 15 inches from the shoulders, the lining will end 1/2 inch before the ribbing. Does this sound about the right placement and ending for the pockets? So the pockets are going to be about 7 inches long total. We're just doing 5 inches of the lining right now, plus the body. Then we'll come back, we'll knit 5 inches of the pocket top. Then we'll go back and do just the lining down for 2 inches, and then come back, and the front of the pocket will be incorporated with the rest of the body. So the pocket is going to be about 7 inches long. We plan on starting the ribbing directly after the pocket. But if it turns out there's space between your pocket and the ribbing, that is okay. I think it would look good for the pocket and in your ribbing. And I love that Hey Carrie Ann is planning in advance and thinking about where the bottoms of her cables are going to be. That's super awesome. I do that. What I do, let me tell you what I do. Like on this sweater, let's say I want the cable on the back. Here's my back cable. If I want it to end, you can see it, in a certain place, I actually take this to my copying machine, or you could go to Kinko's or FedEx or wherever and copy it so it's life size and make several copies. And then I cut and paste to project the length of my sweater and where the cable's going to end. I do this a lot. When I'm teaching classes here in Bakersfield on sweater knitting, a copying machine is a valuable tool. We use it all the time in projecting what the sweater is going to look like and where certain parts are going to hit your body. For example, if you had an all over cable, you wouldn't want something right here, so we use the swatch and we copy it life size, and you can cut and paste it together, and then you can adjust where you want things on your body. You can do the same thing with these cables. You can predict where they're going to be at what distance on your sweater. Does that make sense? Okay, that's that one. How we doing? 12:35. Okay. This one is from Susan Marie. She says, I love this question. And I like Susan Marie too. She's a really good knitter. Pay attention when she talks on Ravelry. She knows what she's talking about. For future knit-alongs, can Suzanne share with us if we'll need additional books? My family always wants to know what I want for Christmas. Perhaps others find themselves in the same situation. That's great. Yes. So we have Ann Budd's book for the handy book of top-down sweaters that we're using right now, right? She has the other one, which is the Knitter's Handy Book of Bottom-Up Sweaters. That's a good investment. We will be using both books. The very next sweater we're going to do, which will be the yoke, will be the top down again. But after that, everything we do after that will be bottom up. Owning both books is good. And once you understand how to use her books, they get easier and easier, and you'll find that you refer to them all the time. They are a library standard for any knitter. Okay, that's all of the questions. Let me go through here and see what people have asked on here, or start posting your questions now if you want. If you have some questions, be sure to give me thumbs up if you haven't already. So let me go through here. Nina says she hasn't even cast on her sweater. That's okay. This is not a race. It's an adventure. It's a journey. And everybody will go through it at their own pace. Could you tell me the weight of the yarn? I did that. Okay. She says hers is 125 meters to 50 grams and seems a little heavy. 125 meters to 50 grams is probably closer to sport DK weight. That's probably DK weight. Yes, Bonnie Davis says, thanks for answering about the pearl bumps. We'll be picking up button bands through 2 layers. Yes, pocket and pocket lining. Yes, and it's fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Nina Kellen, can you address the difference between fingering and sport? They often seem to be the same, but I know sport is supposed to be finer. Fingering is on the Craft Yarn Council's classification of the weights of yarns. Fingering is a 1 and sport is a 2. Fingering is also sometimes called baby, but it's really, just fingering is the size. Sport is the next one up. So it goes lace, really goes cobweb. This is in the smallest to largest, okay? Cobweb, lace is 0, fingering is 1, sport is 2, DK is 3, worsted is 4, bulky is 5, super bulky is 6. So we're doing 1 through 5. Sport and fingering are close. Sport's a little bit heavier than fingering. Hi, Carolyn. Nice to see you. You can go back and watch this in your free time. And then let's see, what size I'm using a size 3 needle on this. I tried it with a 4, but I didn't like the fabric. It was too loose. I want the fabric to have a little bit more recoil for a cardigan, not for all fabrics. So when we were learning about fabric, we were talking about fabric for a cardigan. So when we did our swatching at the very beginning and we tried 3 different needle sizes, then we blocked it and felt the fabric, we were picking a fabric for this project. I do that every time before I start knitting something to see, because if it's a pullover that is something I'm going to be wearing next to my skin, I don't need to have it this dense. It can be less dense than this. So I might have used a 4 needle for that. Okay. Susan Powell, I'm projecting the number of repeats for the cable so the length of the cardi will stop when the pattern repeat finishes. That is great. That is exactly, and that is what I look for. I can tell when I see someone's knitting that they thought about it by seeing those things. If the cables start and stop at a nice point, because that's something you can adjust. Everybody can do that on their own. You can decide where you want to start the cable and stop the cable if it's at a pleasing point for you, rather than just chopping it off when you get to the length that you need. Same thing with when we're going to learn a lot about ribbing. You know, ribbing sounds basic and you probably think, okay, I'm going to get to the ribbing and it's going to go really fast now. I have lots to tell you about ribbing because it's really fun. You can add so much to your sweater and your design elements by ribbing that you choose. So we'll be talking about that this coming week as we finish the pockets. Does anybody else have anything they want to ask? I'm open for all questions about this tutorial that we're doing. I'll give you a minute. So the next time I'm going to be live will be on Sunday. 9 o'clock worked okay for me last week. It might be 9 o'clock again. The other alternative is in the afternoon. like 1, 2, or 3. So we can talk about it on Ravelry. If some of you are not on Ravelry, that's where we talk about these things in my group on Ravelry. It's called Knitting with Suzanne Bryan. You can join us there. I think we're probably the most active group on all of Ravelry, believe it or not. If you just go to search groups on Ravelry, we often come up as the most active group. We have people who are engaged and participating. It's very fun, and I love all of them. It's so fun. We are all learning together. You know, it's kind of like this is related but not related. Many years ago, I went to counseling because I wanted to learn more about myself and have some self-growth. And I'm a very introverted person. I've told you that before. I am an introverted person. And Kate, I'll get your question. I see it. I'll get there just a second, okay? So I went to counseling, and I ended up going for 2 years, and I learned so much about myself. But in the first few weeks, my counselor's name was Carol, she kept suggesting that I go into group counseling. And because I'm super introverted, the last thing I wanted to do was discuss my issues with people I didn't know. But she kept telling me, and as the weeks went by, I found that there were some weeks I really had nothing to discuss in counseling, and it was kind of like a waste of my hour and my money. So I did get into group counseling, and it's amazing. Your growth is so much faster because if you don't have an issue that week, someone else does, and it's something you can relate with. And so you can incorporate that into your growth. It's the same way with knitting in this group on Ravelry. If you're sitting at home knitting this project by yourself and you get stumped or whatever, it can hold you back. But in my group, let me tell you, we talk about all that stuff. And I have wonderful, wonderful moderators. The moderators on there, Delise and Demetria, Renee, and Amanda are fantastic. They're friendly and supportive. And they're learning right along with you. And so you learn from everybody else's issues. It goes much faster. Okay, so now let me go up. So Kate asked, what kind of increases and decreases do I use for the waist shaping? So the decreases I used, decreases, you can either do them with the grain or against the grain. If you do them with the grain, they're called full fashioned. I used full fashioned. And then if you do them against the grain, they're called they're called full fashioned. If you do them with the grain, they're called blended. These are blended. If you do them against the grain, they're called full fashioned. I can write a whole article about that in itself. So what I do is when I'm making the decreases, I make them so that the top stitch stays on top. It doesn't go under. For example, if you have to do a knit two together to keep the top stitch on top, then you do a knit two together. If you're going the other way and you have to make an SSK, then I make an SSK. For the increases, I use make one right or make one left. And I always make them lean away from the marker. For example, when I said lean to the outside of the marker, for example, here's your marker. Let me tilt my screen. Here's my marker for my waist shaping. I would make one, it would lean this way towards the underarm. So if this is to the right, it would lean to the right. If this is to the left, it would lean to the left. And I have videos on make one right and make one left. In fact, one of the most popular videos on my YouTube channel is the make one videos, the make one right and make one left. Okay, let's see. Susan Powell, I'm still swatching as I find new things to consider. So if I have questions or where to start the cables or casting on, etc., I'm still here to answer. And you can still go on Ravelry. We have a frequently asked question page too that Dolise and Demetria and my moderators are creating. So the things that are asked over and over, you can go to the frequently asked questions page and there'll be your answers or links to the videos or the instructional information that's used for that. Just having fun, says she agrees about group chats. The mods are super and you're making friends too. Yeah, I know. I love that part. Lois Yamanda, can you give us a link to Ann Budd bottom up sweater? I'll do that in this video when the video goes into my videos list on Ravelry. I mean on YouTube, and maybe somebody can post that also in the Ravelry group. It's called the Handy Knitters, Ann Budd's Handy Knitter, well, whatever, Ann Budd's Knitter's Handy Book of Bottom-Up Sweaters. Yes, it's a great book. Carol, when picking up stitches for pocket lining, I did have 2 knit stitches together, not purl bumps, so I did skip them on cable flare, but I think it looks okay. If it looks okay, then it's fine. If you think it looks okay, it's fine. It depends on how many stitches you're getting to the inch, because I'm getting 7 stitches to the inch on this. I could probably skip 2 and it wouldn't show either. So Dolly says, I'm so friendly, so genuine and real. Thank you. It's just me. And I love knitting and I like sharing it. And I want everybody to love it too. So I think I'm going to call it a day. It is 12:46. Come back and see me next time. Join our group on Ravelry. If you haven't purchased this pattern yet for the knit along yet, it's in Ravelry. It's called It Takes a Guild Cardigan Tutorial. It is $25, but you will get your $25 worth and more. Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you. You guys have a joyful day too. We'll talk to you later. Happy knitting.